Hey, Ryan.
I've done kids with
Yeah, that sounds fine. Is that gonna be like a
And then nobody touched us. No, that's not true.
I'm fine. I just didn't
We voted. Those of us on the podium voted yes.
shoot it high. You don't want the. Let's see, actually. You have to sit up straight. Because otherwise, it's like you get cut off at a lower third.
They all wear faces.
She's okay.
Probably like 2 years.
It was
Alice is in Mexico, so I didn't remember.
Okay, yeah, I want to let you know, so I have Phil Manning's microphone on channel 1. I plugged it into the question. Well, yeah, because now they want to discuss
here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
So on channel 1 is Phil Manning, we use stick mic. If he comes up on channel 2, I plugged into the audience mode, which is the questions, questions. Minus, yeah. So if you take it, you can actually hear the question on channel 2 from this camera. Okay.
Oh, glad you can make it up. Morning, Jim. Morning, everybody.
Money.
Well, whatever it takes to, whatever we can, yeah, 100 would work. We did the other day, I'm just saying, that would be the quick fix. No, we go to the planners, yes. I'm gonna have to
What's up, guys? Morning. Guess what? Tax reform is working. It really is. It's working for families. It's working for businesses. Tax reform is working for our economy. Yesterday, Apple announced $2,500 bonuses for its employees, as well as the largest investment any company has made in response yet to tax reform. Remember, this is not just happening of the biggest of companies as well. I was in North Prairie, Wisconsin just last Friday. I visited Zero Zone. It's a company that makes refrigerator display cases. We talked about how tax reform is going to help them expand and hire more people. These kinds of decisions are taking place across the country. This is such a change in the past year. Now the conversation is about growing and expanding. Now workers are coming home and telling their families they got a bonus or they got a raise or they got better benefits. You know, I mentioned just yesterday a worker at the Chrysler plant in Belvedere came up to me at my son's basketball game, told me how he's going to get $4,000 more as a result of the bonus and the tax cut. Tax reform is working, and it's helping to improve people's lives, which is exactly why we did it. Next, I talked at CSIS this morning about how critical it is that we fully fund our military. It is the first responsibility of our government. And right now, this is an urgent responsibility as our military faces a serious deterioration of its readiness capabilities. Unfortunately, Democrats don't seem to share that urgency at all. They continue to hold military funding hostage over unrelated issues and deadlines that don't exist. Now they are threatening to shut down the government altogether over these unrelated issues. It is just unconscionable. Our men and women in uniform need our help. They need these resources so they can do their jobs and do it safely. Don't take my word for it. Here is what Senator Schumer himself said in 2013. And let me read you this quote. This is from Senator Schumer. Quote, "We believe strongly in immigration reform. We could say, we're shutting down the government until you pass immigration reform. It would be governmental chaos." Close quote, Chuck Schumer, October 6, 2013. This strategy is governmental chaos. I could not agree more. We should not be playing these games. The most responsible thing we can do is avoid that chaos and pass this continuing resolution that we're bringing to the floor. Address the real deadlines that are here. The real deadlines by continuing the funding for our military. Extend the children's health insurance program. And instead of our men and women in uniform being treated like bargaining chips, we can keep working on getting the resources that they need. Now, continuing resolutions are not ideal. That is why the House passed all 12 of the appropriation bills ahead of schedule before the fiscal year. The only reason anyone is even necessary The only reason we have to pass the CR today is because Democrats refuse to close on a spending agreement, taking it hostage for an immigration deal. Again, the most responsible thing we can do for our military and for the country is to keep the government open, pay our troops, put aside the games, move forward, and continue to negotiate with each other in good faith. Questions? Chad.
Explain why your side can't pass this bill with only Republican votes. I understand what you have.
No, we're doing fine.
So this bill will pass.
I have confidence we'll pass this because I think members understand why on earth would we want to have a government shutdown, hurt the military, and by the way, the sequester then on the military starts kicking in due time. That is not in anyone's interest, and so why we would want to feed the idea that we should use our troops as bargaining chips in an unrelated deal. So I think it's unconscionable that Democrats would walk away from CHIP, from funding our military for something that is not a deadline. Let me just tell you one thing, Chad. Look at the states are going to be shutting down CHIP in days. Alabama, Connecticut, Kentucky, Louisiana, Oregon, Virginia, Washington State. These are states that are running out of CHIP money if we don't get this thing passed, and I can't imagine why somebody would want to vote against doing that.
Clarify one thing for me, though. Why do you keep talking about the Democrats? You don't have confidence on your side of the aisle that you can carry this bill with only Republican votes.
I didn't say that. I said that I think the Democrats should join us in passing this bill, and I feel like we're in a good place.
He said CHIP needs to be renewed right away. The president just signaled this morning that he doesn't think it should be included in this spending bill. So how do you negotiate with Democrats and your own members if you're not sure where he stands?
I do. I am sure where he stands. He fully supports passing this legislation. I just talked to him about an hour and a half ago after my CSIS speech. So I didn't see what he wrote, but I've spoken with the president. He fully supports passing what we're bringing to the floor today. Casey.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about the same thing because you say that you didn't.
All right, let me go to the next question then.
CHIP should be part of a long-term solution, not a 30-day or short-term extension. Is that causing you problems?
No, it's actually not causing us problems at all. Yeah, CHIP funding's unique in how it works because some states are doing fine, they have more money, and some states don't. And these short-term patches don't fix those problems. So you really do have states that are actually legitimately running out of money, and the short-term patches don't fix those states. Right behind these 7 states are a whole nother tranche of states that will run out of money. We figured out on a bipartisan basis how to renew and extend the CHIP program. It's a bipartisan program. And yeah, he does understand CHIP. Yeah.
Broadly beyond CHIP, though, the Senate Majority Leader said yesterday that he has concerns that the president hasn't indicated yet what he's willing to support on a deal for Dreamers.
Well, look.
Are you confident that you're clear on what the president would and would not support?
Yeah, the president wants a balanced deal. He wants maneuverability. He said this at the White House event that you guys were all invited into, that you guys talked about, which is he wants to have security. He wants to have a balanced deal. The purpose of getting DACA right is so that we fix DACA once and for all, and we don't create a new DACA problem that we have to address 5 and 10 years down the road. And so the president is clearly giving legislators room to negotiate, but he wants a balanced deal. The president's made it clear that the deal that he was presented with by Graham and Durbin is not a balanced deal, and he doesn't support that. What I've been making clear is we're not going to bring a bill through here that the president's not going to support. What would be the point of passing something that doesn't go into law? We want to pass something that goes into law. And what that means we'll do is pass a balanced deal. But again, what does this have to do with our military? What does this have to do with preventing the Children's Health Insurance Program from shutting down in all these states in a few days? What does this have to do with making sure that the men and women who are out there right now putting their lives on the line need what we can give them? What does this have to do with our funding for our troops? It has nothing to do with funding for our troops, and we should not use them as bargaining chips. Then I'll go back there. So I'm picking on front row people too much. I gotta go back in the cheap seats. Oh wait, yeah, go after you. Yeah. Dude. Next question.
Just to follow up on Mary's point, though, because of what Leader McConnell said yesterday about not necessarily knowing where the president is, last week you sort of had to serve as translator to a FISA tweet again this morning. These are tough votes for you, tough votes for the Congress. Is it helpful? Do you feel like the president is helpful to this process of actually getting 216 or 318?
He is. He's going to the Pentagon today to make the point about why our military is under duress, why our military needs funding. He's obviously supporting getting this done. And the president likes to do things in an unconventional way. He does it with his phone, but it actually does help us with our members. Yeah. Look, I'm not going to sit here and negotiate through the media, but that's up to the Senate Democrats. If the Senate Democrats want to shut the government down, if the Senate Democrats want to deny funding for our troops, if the Senate Democrats want to stop CHIP funding for unrelated issues, that's a choice they would make. I don't think it's a good choice for them to make, but that would be their decision to make. Dude in the back. Who are you? Remember it. Yeah.
I'm Nash Jenkins from Time Magazine.
Okay, sorry, Nash. Yeah.
This will be I guess, the fourth time in as many months that you guys
Yeah.
get to pass a CR. Why is that? Why?
You want me to read my opening again? So, it's a totally legitimate question. I'm not trying to belittle your question. Why are we doing this continuing resolutions? Because Senate Democrats are not allowing appropriation bills to even be brought up for a vote, because they're attaching unrelated issues to cap negotiations. So, shouldn't we have regular order on appropriations? Congress agrees on the spending level, and then Congress funds appropriations to those levels. That is how appropriations are supposed to work. The House passed all 12 appropriation bills ahead of schedule this year. The Senate hasn't brought up one appropriation bill, and that's not Mitch McConnell's fault. That is the fault of the fact that it takes 60 votes, and the Senate Democrats are refusing to even exercise the power of the purse, and now they're refusing to get a cap agreement so that we can get the power of the purse exercised, so we can fund the military, fund things like basic health care, fund things like opioids. They're refusing to even do that over these unrelated issues. That's why we are where we are. Andy.
You are aware that Senator McConnell has not attempted to bring up an appropriations bill and that the Senate Appropriations Committee has not drafted...
I am aware of it, and it's because they know they don't have 60 votes to proceed on this thing. I wish they didn't have to get 60 votes to proceed, but it's because of that.
See the Senate maybe make more of an effort to demonstrate the points you're making by moving to go to legislation?
Of course I would. I'm a House guy. I always want to see the Senate do more on the legislative calendar. They're pretty busy on their what they call the executive calendar, trying to get personnel through. I sympathize with their problems, but yes, I would love to see people at least have to vote on these things.
Mr. Speaker, what's your case to national security lawmakers who worry that every day under a
Yeah.
CR damages the military?
The CR is not good for the military, but what's worse for the military is a government shutdown. What's even worse for the military is a government shutdown followed by a sequester, which is what would happen if we don't pass a CR. We also have passed what we call anomalies. We passed things in these CRs that give the military the flexibility they need during the time of the CR to do what they need to do, but it is clearly less than ideal. I just gave a speech this morning at CSS about this. But what we know for a fact, you can ask Secretary Mattis the same question, is that not passing a CR is much worse and much more damaging for the military, especially when it's followed up with a sequester.
Last question, Mr. Speaker. We've been talking a lot about Senate Democrats today, but I want to be clear on the House and where you're getting the votes for the CR in the House. Is it coming from defense hawks and Freedom Caucus members who have been reluctant to support it, or are you expecting Democrats to help?
I feel we're making really good progress with our members. We're having great conversations, and I feel our members are understanding the gravity of the situation. And I think our members do not want to reward using the military as a hostage in this moment. Thanks.